Let's take a look at some of the tax deductions we can take for business expenses. And certainly these would include business supplies like paper clips, um, files for our papers, ink for our printers, paper, our copy machine, equipment that's used in the business, anything that has to do with the business. Now there's the IRS is fairly content if we have one cell phone and we use that for business primarily. They will give us 100% tax deduction if we journal everything, keep track of every phone call, and come up with the exact percentage. And the same thing applies with the computer. However, since most people don't go through that kind of a hassle and try and keep track of every single use, whether or not it's personal or business, generally speaking, I learned that I wouldn't have much of an issue if I took 80% as business and 20% as personal. But people have asked about our products, and I had written several tax experts. Those of us in Manatech wonder whether we can deduct as a business expense the $100 of products that we're required to purchase monthly if we wish to qualify for the bonus check. Generally, since the products are personal use, I suppose the answer would be no. However, we only purchase these Manatech products. We don't, some companies like Amway, you can purchase cars and TVs and everything else, and obviously the IRS can't permit all of that as a business expense if it's mostly personal use. But we only purchase nutraceuticals, and we can make no income. We would have to change our W-4s back and forth, for without consistent orders, we can't claim a home-based business. We wouldn't be able to monitor quality control, which was important back when glycobears were being reformulated. We can't preserve our health and therefore our credibility. Nobody's going to buy health products from someone who's frequently sick. For any or for all of these reasons, wouldn't the $100 be in this situation a business expense? Well, it's kind of a gray area. And there's some that would say if you deduct the $100, that's a business expense, because without your purchase, you don't have a business. If you buy beyond $100, some people put in some pretty sizable orders, they would not be a tax deduction. You can't order $600 worth of this stuff because you have somebody who's in bad shape, and write that all off. The tax law is very clear that for health reasons, medical reasons, it has to be a drug, and it has to be a prescribed drug for a tax deduction. You can't write off supplements and nutritional products. Certainly when you open your account with Manatech, you're buying a business. It's like you're buying a franchise, and when you have your annual renewal, even though you may get some products, that's also a business. That's pretty clearly a business expense. But your $100 a month probably isn't. That's my inclination, because what will happen is if you get audited, the IRS would probably say, yeah, go ahead and spend your $100 a month, because you need to do that to have a business, to qualify for bonus checks and that sort of thing. But their question will be, well, what did you do with that $100? Now, if you gave it away as samples, etc., that's fine, that's legitimate. But if you consumed it yourself, that's personal use, and that's not a deduction. That's what I've learned. So, but there are some tax counselors that I've heard say go with $100 as a tax deduction, and if 5 or 6 years from now they disallow it and they slap your wrist and fine you $500, I suppose you're still way ahead. But what we've done is we set up a C corporation. We'll talk about this a little later, and I've been hired by the C corporation, and as a condition of employment, it's required in my contract that I take a certain amount of these products, because if I'm sick, the company has no credibility. I can't afford to get sick. I get sick, I get fired. And so I'm required contractually to take a certain amount of these products, and it becomes a business expense to the corporation. The IRS does permit also that if you work through a meal and you can't get away to eat, the company you work for can provide food. And as you know, these supplements are simply food, concentrated nutrition in food. So, you know, there's another response I got. The whole question is whether it's ordinary and necessary for business. The IRS may construe it as a personal purchase. It's not specific in the Internal Revenue Code. And so some people are comfortable in the gray area. Some people want to be very cut and dry. You should never knowingly, deliberately break the law. There's a difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion, and I think it's 15 years. They say the difference between a pig and a hog is a pig gets fat, but a hog gets slaughtered. And so that's you know what I've learned, and I advise you to check with your tax expert about these things. I know that your first line in your home for a telephone is automatically personal use. So if you have a second line, a business line, you can take that as a business expense. With your first line, you can deduct things that aren't necessary, you know, frills that you add, maybe call waiting, or you know, and certainly your long distance if you want to document for business purposes. That can be a deduction too. So those are the kind of the common deductions that you might expect. But let's take a look at some of your home deductions in the next video.